Hey, good to see you. Okay folks, for today's video, I'm going to be showing you what you need to know that most people don't know. In order to fully recover from a narcissistic abusive relationship, there are a few dangers here. If you don't know this, you can stay stuck and never recover. You can actually become even more narcissistic, as most of you know. Those of us who've been through narcissistic abusive relationship, narcissistic traits are inflamed. That I'll show you why this can make you more narcissistic, and you can actually legit stuck in something called prolonged grief syndrome, and it's a good place to be. And essentially your growth as a human being will be held back. It will be arrested. It can go for a number of years, so that's the danger. That's why you need to know this little caveat at the material that I'm about to present to you is complex and going to go through it quickly, and I'm gonna try and make it as simply as I possibly can. So we're working today with a new model, and it's Sam Vatman's model. It's called the dual mothership model. And what this posits is the idea that in a narcissistically abusive relationship between the narcissist and the all, it's say together, is something that is called co-idealization. So I'm going to show you how this plays out, and I'm going to show you what the danger is and why this is so dangerous, and then I'm going to teach you what to do about it. So what happens in the dual mothership model? Narcissist and the target go through what Sam calls co-idealization. It is not just that the narcissist idealizes the target, which you've already heard before. It's that co-idealization becomes mutual ultimate purpose of why the narcissist is doing. This is so that they confuse and merge with the target as a mother, and the ultimate purpose is to go from fusing, emerging with the target, not as the target, not as an individual, not as a human being. This is why you don't feel seen. It's why you're not respected as your own person. You are simply instrumentalized to be the narcissist mother. The co-idealization is there to allow fusing and merging as a child would do with the mother, and the ultimate purpose is to go through the idealization phase into the fusing and merging for sainto individuation. What needs to happen? From being idealized, then to need to go through a process of being persecuted and being knocked off that perch. So if you're there as the mother, you're upon this pedestal, and you're the mother, you're idealized. In order to individuate, the narcissist has to kick you off this perch and drop you, because if you remain idealized, if you remain the perfect mother, which is what the narcissist took you on as, and idealized you as, he or she cannot individuate from you, so they have to persecute you. They have to make you into one bad object, so that they can ultimately reject you, and that they can ultimately discard you. So you're aware of these things where you go through idealization, and then you go all the way through to discard. Well, the purpose of discard is to knock you off the pedestal, so that the narcissist can then openly individuate. So this is very important to understand if you're trying to make sense of the weird UPS and ouch push-pull of the relationship. I'm showing you this model that Sam has developed. You think it is the absolute tell ye 100% agree. This is the correct model. It explains everything that happens inside of narcissistically abusive relationship. It also describes the weird change in tone that you will experience. Efforts comes from no rights. Never about you. I were an instrument or instrumentalist theory there to function as a mother that can be pushed away from the narcissist with female or male in childhood, was not allowed to individuate from mother, so they're still subsumed. They're still fused and merged with mother, but they're desperately trying to grow up. They're desperately trying to free themselves. This is not a morality lesson. I'm not saying therefore they get out of jail free card. Morally speaking, you don't believe that, but I'm explaining to the mechanics of why this happened. Was it so wonderful in the beginning, and then why did they spend months dragging me down? This was an unconscious impulsato move them towards individuations that they could kick. By kicking you off the pedestal through the discard phase, they spend an awful lot of time and an awful lot of energy engaging in devaluation. Devaluation, so the poor target is left in this weird state where they're like, well, why is this happening to me? Am I being treated so well, and now why am I being treated so awfully? And the thing that damages your confidence is part of the machine. Like nature of this process, you are trapped inside of this evil machine that's doing this to you unconsciously. All the good bits are in the idealization. Narcissist must idealize you so that they may fuse and merge with mummy, you or mother. It doesn't matter if you're male or female, it doesn't matter if your relationship is gay or straight, you are mother as Thea's the narcissist target. You're the person they've chosen to play this game, so they're fusing, merging as mother. In order to do that, they must idealize you, purpose of diffusing and merging us to become one with you so that they can individuate. Individuation is the word that we all need. Whether you're a therapist, a coach, or you are a client for this, you must start talking about individuation if you want to make sense of what's going on inside of narcissistic abusive relationships. I would have said the most important thing to understand is narcissistic supply. It isn't that's actually quite a cosmetic and surface level. In terms of a driver, this is the real driver. They are trying to grow up. They're trying to become human. They're trying to be a person because they're not a persona. When you meet them, so individuation is the idea. And everything bad that happens in the relationship is part of the other side of the coin, so they must get close towards you and they need to push you away. Everything bad that happens is part of a devaluation, so name your favorite to a least favorite should hold. I say narcissistic abuse tactics, or everything that we call narcissistic abuse is a part of the devaluation phase. So this is essentially what's going on. Why is it called dual mothership? Why is it dual mothership model? I'll explain that to you in just a moment. Said to you in the beginning, there's some things to be cautious of. Here you will stay stuck, you will remain in prolonged grief syndrome, and you can actually become even more narcissistic. How inside of this process, if you don't accept that this is what's happening, if you resist that this is what's happening and you say no, in my case there was something else that was going on. Andy didn't let another person do anything like this to me. I didn't become their mothery, wasn't her ideal as Eddie, wasn't discarded in this way. None of this happen. Edward can start to happen as you become a narcissist in your defense assets. Classic successor crypt denial. Your ego finds this objectionable, so it just negates it and it simply pushes it away. You must remember that narcissistic personality disorder, this is Sam Botman's model. I'm gonna tell you something that is more personal to me, my opinion. The essence of the narcissistic personality disorder is one big no. It's a rejection of reality. You don't like that reality, can't accept that reality, negate it, say no, and you choose another reality that is a fantasy-based reality that comes from men, from the outside. So when you're coming from Eve, if you imagine a tooth, this is a poorly drawn egg that's the worst drawn egg ever. Sorry about that. And then there's a person inside of the egg. All eggs matter, ritual eggs matter, and you're in her are the ideas that are coming only from you. That's a self-referential that are so obsessive, are essentially narcissistic, and what we're doing outside of the hard shell of the egg is that everything that is outside of us is kind of negated. So the essence of the narcissistic echoes disorder becomes delusional. It is there an infant in an adult's body trying to act out this ongoing more functional maladaptive. It sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, which is why the narcissist goes through relation depletion or a happiness and sadness and more normal language beckhouse. Sometimes they pull it off and sometimes they can't. But it's a big no, so be very careful, be very aware when you hear yourself or feel yourself just saying no to the whole thing. Would that be considered you becoming more narcissistic instead of it just being a narcissistic defense? Because with what the narcissist has done to you inside of this whole weird few, they fused and merged with you. They've pushed you into the role of mother, hyper-idealized mother. Well, you didn't ask for that. You then start to enjoy this because You're being idealized as perfect mother. There's another element to that will come to in a moment, and so you then become, if not addicted to this, at least conditioned to this, or you're gathering something from the significance in the drama and the emotional intensity that this person is showing you fit your hormonal system, your central nervous system, your perceptions register is love. You got all. This is passion. This is love. This is what true romantic love like in the movies is. Now what's happening is you ray experiencing the emotional intensity of an infant was looking at you and saying, enter my reality, you enter my reality, so I can love you, walking in being sacrificed to the our God Moloch, right? No, and I want to change you for me. It's a quid pro quo this for that in an effort to escape. It doesn't work, of course, they didn't get better, they don't help, but it's an unconscious effort. But you're the sacrificial lamb, you are the scapegoat, you are the one to take on all the sins and all the crimes and then to do witches. Where thetum scapegoating comes from is an actual practice where all the sins of tribe would bepit into a goat, and the goat would either be ritually slaughtered or left in the wilderness to die of thirst and predators. That scapegoating, that's what a scapegoat does. So you're the scapegoat, you're the sacrifice. Inside of that process, the narcissist entrance you for you to fulfill this role. You are conditioned mentally or intranethis is all some Batman's model, some Batman's theory hour. Entrained to take on their traits, you're entrained to take on their worldview, and so you in order to be in a relationship with a narcissist, you are entrained to be a narcissist yourself or the relationship called not function. It doesn't mean you have MPDIT, doesn't mean that you have MPDWHAT. I'm trying to warn you of is if you don't accept this dit, you're gonna stay stuck. You're gonna end up with prolonged grief syndrome that can go on for months, years, and your life just goes into a state of arrested development, and you can become you could become a quite narcissistic yourself. Is fusing the merging idealization and even the devaluation is all a painful cult brainwashing tomb bonding process that colonizes your mind. So your mind is no colonized by the narcissist, your mind is infected with the narcissistic worldview, and doing that, which is what we're gonna come to in a moment, is quite a challenge up a flea with meso far bit weird, about to get a little bit weirder. Is it Khaled dual mothership was the duality, we as the diadual mothership. It's not only that you have been recruited to play the mother of the narcissist. The narcissist is going to play your mother as well, so part of this co-idealization process. Oh, it looks like breast show, Freudianthe co-idealization process is a covert contract where I will be your mother and you will be my mother as well, so in a certain sense where you're now a symbiotic relationship. You're offering hyper-idealized mother's milk and receiving hyper-idealized mother's milk. So you're both offering each other a kind of narcissistic supply. That's why it's the dual mothership model. You now understand that the purpose of co-idealization isn't to keep you Haritz diffuse and merge with Uto, then push away from Uto, cause the individuation. Is this a problem in terms of healing? This is a problem in terms of healing for several reasons. So let's start with the simpler reason, and then we'll go into the more complex reason, and then I'll start to give you some points as to what to do. So if you break up with a narcissist, you think, oh, I've broken up with them, so that's if it's over, except you haven't realized that you're in the dual mothership relationship and they have colonized your mind. So when you break up with them, this is Sam Bachman's theory. His hypothesis: when you act after the relationship, you act as the narcissist. So when you go to therapy, you go to therapy as the narcissist. When you do your courses in your healing process, you do them narcissistically. This is a problem number 2. When you leave them, you may be overwhelmed by feelings, weird feelings of guilt, and you may be quite anxious about them and their safety and where they're in, what they're doing. Wild cows, when you leave them, you have to abandon them, as a mother abandoning a child. So you must understand and deal with these weird emotions you've had. It's so I've been a goals, and it's happened to me twice. A girlfriend if been their mother and I'm abandoning her as a mother abandons a child, and I get anxious about them after the breakup. Doesn't matter how abusive or horrible they were to Melthau, where are they? Are they okay? Can they cope in the world? Without mother to take care of them, so you're a mother abandoning a child extremely difficult. Emotions you can become due can develop tremendous even if you've never had it before in your life. Abandonment anxiety, which is quite painful and difficult to live with. Where is this coming from? You are also being abandoned by them, and you are being abandoned as a child by their mother. So you are abandoned, you also abandoned. That's where that's coming from. And the other elements of all of this that is very difficult to overcome is that in order for this to keep going and to keep functioning, it's quite a strange relationship from this perspective. I'm sure you would agree. Isam Sombotman took a concept from a psychoanalyst called Sanderwo published a paper about this in 1989, and he called it the shared fantasy. Sanders' idea was that all relationships have a shared fantasy in order to function. It's a normal functioning thing. In order to deal with grief and disappointments and hopes and dreams, relationship between two adult human beings requires a shared fantasy. Sam took the idea and applied it to narcissistically abusive relationships and said, okay, so when you break up, these are just some of the issues you'll face when you break up with your narcissistic abuser. Your mind is still colonized. You're gonna be overwhelmed by feelings of guilt and anxiety because you're a mother abandoning a child. You're gonna feel it's tremendous abandonment anxiety, even though you've never felt that before in your life, because you experience it yourself as a child being abandoned by the mother. And if the shared fantasy doesn't end, you don't kill the shared fantasy by killing it. We'll have to. I'll get into the solutions in a moment, but we have to deconstruct it. Your narcissistically abusive shared fantasy. So what does this mean? It means that in order for the two of you, so imagine a matrix pod, and they're in a matrix pod, and you're feeding each other supply, you're feeding each other fuelis. You exist in the pod. It's a virtual reality that they've invited you into it on some level, and consciously you've consented to. You are still in the pod, but in the virtual reality that you're being fed in the pod, you think you woke up. It's nightmarish. I mean, it's like horror movies and sci-fi movies. In order to understand what's going on, RSO, you got a hue in your pod. You're in the pink goo with no eyebrows and no hair like that, and like in the Matrix, and you go, oh, I've escaped the Matrix, and you're in the poda. I'm free. I got out the pod. This is Armart single, the while you are still in the pod, still colonized. Shared fantasy, not dead. In order to overcome narcissistic abusive relationships, you just understand the dual mothership model. If you're a coach and you're coaching people to overcome narcissistic abusive relationships, you just understand the dual mothership model for your client's sake. These are some of the primary things that are gonna block your client's progress. These are some of the primary things that are gonna block your progress. You be like you had she's not a client. She's a friend of mine yesterday, saying the same thing you've heard over 100 clients saying in the last 9 years. I already did the work, he already went to therapy. Is this still happening? Cause this isn't over. And this isn't over. And you haven't accepted this, and this is gonna suckle of this sucksel of this sucks, but these feelings are really unpleasant. They make daily life very difficult. To deal with this keeps you stuck in a delusion, so you're colonized, so you're in a narcissistic fantasy, and this, if this is not deconstructed, means you've never actually exited the relationship. What's he talking about? I left my husband in Brazil 5 years ago. He's telling me I'm still in the relationship with you, with my husband. Yes, if you didn't do this work, if you didn't overcome this, that's why you're still watching your YouTube videos about narcissistic abuse scores. It isn't over. But he's moved on, have got another wife, he's got kids. But what it doesn't matter, this is still real for you. You're still in the pody, have a course seats called Unplugged from the Matrix of Narcissistic Abuse. It uses Sam Batten's modelum to try and give you practical tools for overcoming. There are other issues that you'll foresee. These are some of the more obvious ones, more difficult ones that have shown you here how to overcome the fact that your mind is colonized to deal with. The guilt and anxiety of a mother feeling like you're a mother abandoning a child. This is one of the big things that pulls people back in. People say I was pulled back in because its sex was really good. Even I said that in my last narcissistic abusive relationship. Somebody said, do you keep going back? Sex is good nonsense. It's because I couldn't stand abandoning her. I couldn't deal with the guilty, literally couldn't cope with my own anxiety and guilt about abandoning her as a mother abandoning a child. You yourself are gonna experience abandonment. Anxiety will probably become more hypervigilant, maybe even become more jealous, maybe even find yourself becoming more controlling. These are that's their abandonment anxiety. Be the way that this is proof of colonization with their abandonment anxiety. These are what some calls emotional artifacts. Some of the emotions you think you're feeling for your narcissistically abusive partner aren't even really so in love with them. They're so sexier, they're so handsomer, they're so powerfuler, they're so this or that, and I feel this about them. It's all part of the shared fantasy, and that's actually the colonized part of your brain. That's how the narcissist thinks of themselves. But in order to get into this, you enter their reality and they enter your silo of fused and merged. Your only way out is what they were trying to do. So your healing lies in the injury what they were trying to do us. Individuality will fail that you can't individual this is a malfunctional way of trying to individuality as a human being. It's never worked in history. Our flow of human consciousness must individuate. If you want out of the silo, have to understand the mechanics of what you are dealing with. You have to go through all of this. Told you. Gonna talk slightly religious terminology. Old you told you isn't recoupably told. You is infected. You have to be in a sort of semi-religious way become born again. You must re-individuate in order to get out of the pod. It is not an easy process, but it's not impossibly. Of course we have no, as I say, it's called unplug from the matrix of narcissistic abuse. As a community, we have moderators there who've been through this process themselves. Show understand this process inside out. Woe can help you. If you have any questions, it's not an easy course. You must be committed to exiting a narcissistic abusive relationship, and it is months of work. Do not get the course and go, oh I know it. Jump to the indulge, jump to good bits at the end when you open that course and you see what's required of you in the modules. There's a reason why I give you a timeline. There's a written timeline within the course. It is months. You must be patient, you must slow down, be humble, be self-forgiving, patient, go through process, and really we're talking about a 3 to 4 months long process. Harif, you're willing to commit that length of tomato your own individuation to your own recovery from a narcissistic abusive relationship. I would say the prognosis are very good. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and for your attention, and I look forward to speaking to you again next time. Cheers.